recording is started.
Okay. I think we started. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. So we'll call to order today's meeting. So we'll start off with attendance. Bill Sage back.
Suzanne Dirksen back.
Jenny Nolan, Budget Manager.
Kevin Ingles, Director of Finance.
Tim Dodd, Deputy City Manager.
Jay Knight, back.
Rita Russell, City Council.
And online.
Devin Mandel back.
All right. All right. So hopefully James comes, but otherwise I think we have what we're going to have.
And Peter Echo back.
Oh, sorry. I thought you already
I snuck
went.
I am here.
Day after a holiday. It's funny. All right, so do we have an approval for the April meeting minutes?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? No. Okay, so today we will focus on the capitalization project prioritization. So we had the spreadsheet with our scores. So did anyone not get theirs turned in yet? It's okay. I was gonna be yelled at. Okay. So I know. So so we'll go through it, and then I know I think by the end of the week, right, Jenny, that we need to have our memo out to council.
Yeah, no later than June 5th.
Okay.
So by the end of the week, that would be great.
So, and for those that aren't familiar, we basically, I mean, really the heart of it all is in the spreadsheet, right? In our scores, individual scores and combined scores that then staff and council can take a look at and understand our viewpoint. If there's anything that comes out that we're like, hey, there's not really a way for me to say it in the spreadsheet, maybe by waiting, and I'm not necessarily saying any like feedback on the spreadsheet or functions of that, but just in general, we can add that to the memo. That's fine. So what I'll do is by the end of the week, I'll put it in there. We can give another day or so for people to kind of compile their stuff. And then we'll send that over. But from a memo perspective, it's nothing in detail really, not much else, but happy to share information if we have it or additional information. And then what's the council meeting? Is it the second? Is it the following after the 5th? Meeting after the 5th?
No, they'll get this information
that's
for their
August.
June 24th.
Oh, June 24th. I get confused with the report. Okay. So I was talking, Peter and I were actually talking earlier today. I've been a little unsure like how to kind of talk through it. I mean, we certainly talk about any like logistics of, feedback for staff on the spreadsheet itself as we kind of go along. But as far as reviewing, because we just did it different the last couple of years, so I'm open to any feedbacks. My thought was we could start taking, Peter and I were talking, we were thinking like if anybody had like any major items that like, hey, I want to talk about, street reconstruction, then we can focus in on that. Otherwise, was thinking we can just kind of talk through our top scores and maybe our bottom scores to see if we have any thoughts, but I'm certainly open to any other ways to kind of run through it. If anybody has any thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see in our ranked requests. Yeah, I'm trying to see what we actually budgeted and if where, as we rank things, where the funding's going to stop, so to speak. And if we want to fund the full amount or a partial amount, and then just take a subjective look at everything and see if something was ranked lower. But
Not,
you and I briefly
Yeah,
chatted about
yeah,
this
the
on
other
Sunday, where maybe we see something that we ranked lower on the spreadsheet, but if you talk about it and think about it, we might agree that it might be ranked different.
Yeah, and absolutely, we have an opportunity to change weighting. That's all fine. I know as I found it, I think Suzanne and I talked a little bit about this the other day too, sometimes I felt like I wasn't able to properly weight, just because it didn't feel like it fit into a certain category. Or maybe my interpretation of the category, was not what staff had thought either. My example was like infrastructure, like, I see IT as being infrastructure too from a city perspective, but I don't know if that was the intent behind that section in there. I went as if it was, but, but I mean, from a usability perspective and all of that, you know, once I got the hang of moving scores over and stuff like that, the spreadsheet worked really well. You know, it was easy to navigate. It just took me a second to get the hang of it. I listened to your overview at the meeting a couple times, and I was like, all right, 'cause when you and council were talking through it, so, but all that went fine. And we don't know the final amount yet, to your point of where our cutoff is. Do we?
We have up to 9 million.
Up to,
To
okay,
9.
so it's up to still 9 million, okay.
And what was the total that could be, or that was asked to be allocated?
5 million from unassigned fund balance. So 4 million for ongoing dedicated funding source from the public improvement.
And then we're looking here, so this is a combined view of the PIF and
CPF, yeah.
CPF, thank you.
Yep.
Requests, okay. Just looking at the rankings there.
So what, if everyone got what they want, or if every department got what they wanted?
I think we're over 15 million, 15.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you have your hand raised, Amanda, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no problem. I just to what extent do we plan to differentiate our memo? Because I think like you know, certain items could the orientation of certain items as far as where they appear on our recommendations could vary depending on how much funding is allocated. Are we planning on creating essentially like a set of recommendations based upon the 5 million allocation, and then like just other recommendations if additional funding allows, or how are we approaching that?
I think it would just be from a rank perspective up to 5 million. And then if there is additional funding, anything beyond that, then council and staff could look at that beyond like what else we prioritized. I don't know if I answered your question though.
Nope, that answers my question. Thank you.
And then to your point, because I know in years past that we did say like, hey, we were going to partially fund, I don't know, alley maintenance for 50,000 instead of 100,000. Did we? So was the thought that we call that out here? Okay. Because yeah, there probably are some areas where I would probably fund less. And then Jenny, would that just be an extra column or?
Yeah, I can add it on this spreadsheet right here.
So I guess as we go along, if there's any areas where folks feel like, hey, this is, you know, or if there's any areas in particular that folks feel that they might want to fund differently than how we have it, we can talk through that. So I guess any initial like priorities or projects that, you know, folks want to talk through, make sure we have time allocated for it.
Well, I was kind of thinking maybe we could just look at like the combined scores and just see like where, I don't know how many scores were submitted by today, Jenny.
We had 4 total.
So just maybe like look at those on a comparative basis to see which ones stick out on either end. Or maybe even.
I've got total score or do you want to just look at the average score?
I was looking at, well, I guess
The average score will be the combined score, of course, average.
I just did some conditional formatting on the average totals just to see. But I don't have that 4th number in there, which might have been mine actually.
How did you do your conditional formatting?
I just took column U and highlighted the 38 funding requests, and then just took the conditional formatting tool to just to visually show me which ones stood out. For example, the largest number I saw before my submission was a 2.09 for the concrete utility city share, for instance.
So you're going on the combined,
The average, combined.
but the combined member score sheet is second to the,
Yes,
okay.
So wait, you're looking at U and V? Because they're still,
column U, I believe.
yeah, because they're still going highest to lowest. Can I just come look?
Yeah, or we could do that too, yeah, sort of a high and low.
So what does red and what does blue mean?
Red's just a higher number, blue is a lower number.
Oh, see.
White would be sort of an average or a mean.
Oh, I get it.
Just, it
I
just
just have
helps
mine
me see
sorted.
which ones.
I just have mine sorted differently.
Cool, yeah, I mean, that would work too.
Um,
What do you show as the highest? Just for comparative sake.
the top ranking is road and bridge maintenance. It's the way she has it on the screen.
Yep, oh, you're right, that's my highest too.
All right. I mean, I'll just dive in and share my 2 cents. Like, things that capture my eye is like emerald ash borer mitigation. That was something I couldn't, if I was following the parameters of the spreadsheet, I couldn't score it high enough, but I feel like that is something that's important. And I think it's more important than library furniture, which scored 0.03, 0.03 of a point higher than emerald ash borer mitigation. So we don't have to talk about those 2 items, but that's the type of conversation I'd like to have, at least for a few minutes during this meeting. It's just because there's things that we look at that might be, we want to move up or down.
Yeah, and those were the, like, because I think this is one of the things you brought up to me was like with Emerald Ash, more that there really wasn't a category or something to properly kind of
Yeah.
score that, I guess, for lack of better words. Spreadsheet here too. As we're talking through. So I guess we start looking at, see if we disagree with any of the priority rank then?
Yeah.
As we start
That-
going
that
down.
or- Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm looking through it, I'm actually really impressed with how everything was ranked. And I'm just trying to find, sorry, it's 5 point what and 9 point what? What are our limits?
Oh, up to 9 million.
Okay.
Got my spreadsheet open.
And that can be split in any way between the ongoing maintenance and the capital project items.
Yes.
Is that how it's been done in the past?
Yes.
I didn't recall that.
Because that 9 million will get us through rankings 1 through 22. Then we hit $3.8 million in energy efficiency projects.
What do you think about that?
I think we should partially fund energy efficient projects or move some of the lower cost items up to kind of fit into that $9 million balance.
I think I put, yeah, was that like is there a way where I can just see my prioritized list?
Yes, if you go to the combined member score sheet, and then yours will be the very first.
Oh, okay,
It's listed.
okay. Let me pull up that spreadsheet then. Should I have this downloaded?
Combined members.
Because I have my version, but let me pull up your version real quick.
I mean, I think part of our struggle in years past too has just sort of been identifying, well, is this item actually completable on, or is it partially completable on a partial budget,
Right,
right?
because some of them are 5-year projects
Right,
that you can't simply fund only 1 year of, yeah.
right. because in essence, then it's sort of like, okay, does this actually scratch this entirely? If we can only fund 50% of it.
And that's one of the issues with that energy efficient project, because we're partnering with Sheridan. They're trying to cast a wide net so that they can get grant dollars to at least fund the city's match portion.
Yeah, and fiber network is $1 million a year times 5 years.
I do remember though, I feel like that number's come down a lot from what we initially had thought it was going to be, and I guess that was sort of the scope of the project. But I remember it being up in the $20 million range 2 years ago, maybe.
I mean, the other thing we could do is the sum total of column D is $15.1 million. The other thing we do is just back out the $6 million that we don't feel is very important to reach that $9 million target.
I kind of like that angle. I agree.
And so the 9 million took us to what row?
It was like ranking 22.
Okay, so maybe do we see?
It's right where that like $3.8 million line item is.
Yes,
Okay.
it crosses over
Okay.
to that.
Okay. So maybe do we go through this top 20, 22 and see if there's anything we want to partially fund or not aligned with, and then seeing what extra money we may have out of that?
Yeah, and just to,
Bring up.
Well,
yeah, if we just do a quick poll of like, yes, in favor of full funding or no, partial.
okay,
Without too
and then
much
we can at
discussion
least
on each.
highlight the ones that we partially fund and then,
Yeah,
that's fine, I'm fine.
which could, alleviate a little bit, maybe bump something else up from a priority perspective. So road and bridge material, that was our number one.
I'm fine with fully funding that
Yeah,
one.
Oh, I'm sorry, there's another question online, sorry. I keep meaning to look up. Oh, he dropped. Oh, no, there he is. Did we lose him?
Oh,
Suzanne, can you email me that sheet?
Yes.
Actually, maybe it's back in that one.
You want the one Jenny sent today?
Got it, that way. Oh, I got it.
I will say I'm in favor of fully funding the first 3 rankings.
Yeah,
Like I'm strongly in favor of that.
yeah, and utility share, there's not, much room for negotiation on that in my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just a commitment to
well, we've already made a lot of progress on that agenda, I think.
the,
Project.
pavements by area.
I don't have strong feelings about that one one way or another.
I think on the accessible,
so did we, oh, sorry, did we say fully? fund?
yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Double check this spreadsheet here. I think on the PIF 7, the concrete program accessibility ramps, not that I do not feel like it's not important, but that would be an area I'd be open to discussing if there was something else that, bumped up.
That's when I'm in favor of fully funding. Like anything that's gonna have the word accessible or accessibility in it, I wanna protect as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I know that was an area where I was like, if it came down to,
Sure.
additional discussion, then I'd be
Yeah.
open to that. But yeah, I'm with you.
I do not have an alley, but I know that's a sensitive thing for a lot of people, so I'm in favor of keeping that at $100,000.
Yeah, the alley maintenance, I feel like is a good thing. I mean, it was interesting to hear, you know, how we're using the grindings or whatever. I
Right.
can't remember what term we used, but you know, the leftover from the millings or whatever from the work they're doing to do that, I think that's a great thing. I'm one that's not where I think it'd be cool to pay the alleys. That's not one I'm in favor of supporting. Just, you know, I think it would be awesome, but I don't think it's compared to other things. But I think the maintenance, in my mind, we gotta do something. Yeah.
ADA compliance, I'd like to fully
I think I'd
fund.
keep that.
Street pavement maintenance, I don't feel strongly. Like one of those things that's important, but if we fund 80% of it, fine by me.
Yeah, I think the sideway gap construction too is one I'd be open to say if we partially did. Again, I believe in fully funding it, but you know, I'd be open to discussion if somebody felt differently about it.
Jay, Peter, anything, nothing?
Well,
So I mean, nothing.
no, I'm against paving the alleys. I think we can scratch that completely, but I think $100,000 to grade them and.
Don't worry, that's second to the
Take out
last.
I saw that, so I think we just leave it now.
Yeah, alley paving's way at the bottom.
What number is the street one you just mentioned?
516 on row 16.
I mean, it seems like there's, the road and bridge or bridge, those seem separate to me, pavement maintenance by area, and then we have an additional, wherever that one went again, I can't seem to keep my eyes on it. Oh, arterial and collector street pavement maintenance. And we definitely don't have the smoothest roads, but I'm trying to see if I can actually see where this would be in this document here.
I was pulling up that PDF too that
Yeah,
gives
that's
me
what I was
to
looking
describe some of the stuff. I had this stuff downloaded before, I just didn't think about it.
My takeaway from sidewalk gap construction and traffic calming is that there's a safety component, so I'm in favor of keeping those fully funded.
Was this, this was different than this, was this the school, there was a different one for school calming too, or something along those lines too, wasn't there?
There was,
I don't want-
that one I was for, I'm kind of against the traffic calming, but yeah. I think there are other things that are connected with that we're still
Maybe
trying to
PIF 9, the
discover for
neighborhood
the
traffic
city.
calming program, that's the one you were in favor of?
Yeah,
Well, we can focus on bumping that one up.
yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I just know there's a big debate coming about traffic calming, because we've been talking about this for a while.
there it is, yeah. So 32 right now.
So fully fund this one, neighborhood traffic calming?
No, it was,
Or the school initiative one?
that one.
Yeah, I feel like I ranked the school one higher too.
I did, for sure.
Which one's the school one?
PIF.
With 14.
Yep, you're right.
There it
Yeah,
is.
so that's
well, that's-
consistent with our rankings. That
Yeah.
one should probably be.
That's where we were good.
Of course. I don't know why I can't search this document.
How do we feel about network development?
Yeah, I ranked that one high. Now, this is one of the questions I asked was that there were security concerns mixed in with that. Now I know there was a lot to it, but one of the things that when I asked, it was like, from a security and kind of, I don't know if compliance might be too strong of a word, but that it was needed, and to me, that's very important. And I think that's how I kind of used infrastructure sometimes too, was for these types of things in the generator, because I saw that as part of, just general city infrastructure.
Yeah.
I feel both the development and then the facility backup generators are very important. I'd be even open to ranking those up higher, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it's business critical to the city. I feel like on the
It
backup
is.
generators, I don't know if it was member Ward or there was at least someone from council that recommended it move to tier 1, but I don't think it ever did.
It did.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me too, when you have an issue and you're down and have a truck that has to come in to run the facilities, multiple trucks run the facilities, that gets very expensive very quickly. And I think this is a good long-term investment on the generators and the IT too.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel that way on the IT side too. I mean, I think if it was going to be funded less, from a staff or council perspective, I think my hope would be that like working with, Joe and the team and be like, hey, what pieces are we not funding here, and from a priority perspective, because I don't know enough about everything in there to say, there could be pieces like, well, that could be a next year thing, but, because it is a significant amount of money for sure.
It is.
But just as it is, I feel at least 12. And then the backup generators too, because.
So that was, just so I'm clear, that was, I don't see that PIF number on these.
Backup generators is CPF 16,
And then network development IT,
CPF 3.
that one of the two?
I'm sorry?
That was one of the two we were talking about?
Correct.
I mean, they claim that will bring us to industry standards. I don't necessarily know what that means, but,
Well, what I'm not hearing is that any of us want to lower the amount of the request, right?
Yeah,
Agreed.
I think that's true. Yeah, but I mean, to me, patrol cars, that's just kind of normal course of business, things we're reaching into life or close to it.
It's specifically the computers or the technology in the cars. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah.
agreed.
So, to me, that makes sense. Again, to me, that's kind of business critical stuff. They gotta be able to function out there.
Agreed, and we should give our officers and police staff the best tools.
Yeah, to me, yes, that's one thing they shouldn't have to be worried about there.
Absolutely.
An
I
outdated
couldn't
system
agree
or
more.
something.
So what does that put us at this far?
Well, we still have several rows.
Oh,
Like, it's all the way-
5.5, okay, we're
Yeah,
not close.
yeah. The Parks and Rec parking lot maintenance, do you have that PDF open on that?
I do.
I'm just curious if someone remind me if the 80,000 is all 2 or 3 lots. I feel like we ranked this very low last year, like figure out how to get by another year without working on the parking lot. So I don't want to be consistent in denying that funding or not recommending that funding, but I wonder if we could.
Maybe. I think we did, we need to look. I think we did some.
Yeah,
Project is comprehensive project aimed at improving the functionality, safety, and aesthetic appeal of the parking lots within parks and recs facilities by implementing strategic maintenance measures. The project seeks to enhance the visitor experience, ensure accessibility.
is
Which
it
is-
40,000 at
well,
Mallane, is it 40,000 at ERC? Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm wondering.
It doesn't provide,
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think
Details.
it was also some of the parks too.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I'm not gonna say not fully fund, but we can go back to that if we're trying to squeeze like $10,000 in for something else.
yeah, and maybe some further details,
Yeah,
okay?
I'm fine with security cameras and IT. Security cameras, I mean, I'm fine with walk and wheel.
Well, and I assume I mean, this is stupid perhaps, but I assume that all of these security systems and what have we are interfacing as we move forward with new network development and IT projects. I mean, maybe that goes without asking, but it is something that, you know, I feel like we should be really careful to not double spend on projects that we may end up changing in a year or two, or things that necessarily don't see compatibility.
I think that's important language for our memo.
Thanks. I'll put that in my notes.
So what?
Bill's got a Word document up.
Yeah, so say that again, I listened, but.
Compatibility between network development and IT systems, and in this case, security cameras, and just making sure that we're not double spending or spending money on projects or capital items that will be not functional or easily integrated in a year or two when we change something else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Causing more work than they need.
Yeah, and finances too, right?
Yeah, the integration point I know is a big piece. I mean, I know IT has said that as well, making sure that they're part of those discussions and understand it. Wasn't there, along that line, wasn't there another security? It was increased security, it wasn't cameras though.
At the Civic Center?
Yeah, at the Civic Center, so I
That's-
guess that's
I'll look
different.
that up.
That's on row 25.
Yeah,
CPF 13.
yeah, okay, yeah, but that was different, that was just, that was more people than it was
Which one?
IT or any
What's that?
cameras or stuff like that, so. Which I agree with, is there.
What one was that called?
CPF 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in the PDF, so I can't search for that. What was the name?
Security Civic Center, you can start that. Right, find it.
Oh. And that, okay, capital projects. Annual funding to construct security improvement modifications at city facilities as identified in the security assessment report. Physical security features make facilities safer for staff and assist security officers maintain safety in all facilities, which I think should always be at the top of our
That's
list.
important.
Yes, it is.
It's okay, Mr. Chairman, if I just add a detail to that, is we have a safety committee that involves all departments, and so they recommend, they're advisory to our leadership team, so they made some recommendations a couple weeks ago that would be a part of this. So
Okay.
some of them are pretty small scale in nature, but they're just related to the overall safety.
Okay, yeah, that makes good, that's good context about the committee too.
Okay.
And I think that even to go down deeper on that one, to me, stuff like that is like, obviously the safety being the number one, but I think there's a morale part of that too, of just being like feeling safe. That, you know, that I'm coming somewhere, or from a committee perspective, I'm being heard. I think those are important things, you know, because you don't want people coming to work afraid, so.
Hey, Jenny, could you make that bigger by 1 click, please? From like 110 to 120. Okay, 2 clicks. Did that just delete some of the columns?
I'll just move it over. Is that better?
Yeah, I can go down one, just so we can fit everything on the screen. Thanks.
Yep.
Get a little small. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Signal equipment upgrade replacement, I'm in favor of fully funding that.
Yeah, I was partial on that one.
How partial?
Well, I mean, is this just purely upgrades to lower our maintenance costs? Or is this upgrades to replace obsolete parts? Or are these true replacements of physical rotting, rusting poles or broken transformer electric parts? I mean, I can read the things.
I think I had that one rated higher than the average.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying.
No, that's fine.
I'm just looking at my. But it's a
I mean,
good
this
point.
has come up for a couple years, I know, so I'm not diminishing the importance.
It's good. No, it's good
No,
that
no,
you're challenging it.
see what it said.
Multi-year one, wasn't it?
It is.
Or ongoing?
Yeah.
300,000, and it goes up to 400,000.
Signal. Equipment. Yeah, selected intersections, dated or worn out signal poles, equipment at selected intersections, ensure consistent, reliable, accurate operation of signal equipment. Signal poles are evaluated twice a year for structural concerns. So all the city signals are now over 50 years old. And then here's the, that was one half of it. Purchase of various equipment to maintain or upgrade operations at existing traffic signals, utilizing city staff. Okay, that's good. Regular maintenance is needed to maintain and improve the condition of the city infrastructure. No civic center or possible DDA. Okay. So that's the maintenance side. The other side I read was the capital side. Sorry.
And Tim, I don't know if you would happen to know, but looking again, there's a tier 3 project that's traffic signal replacement that's separate from this. Do they feed into each other? Because so there's maybe they're different. So like the traffic signal replacement is a tier 3 project. Replace dated or worn out traffic signal poles and equipment at selected intersections. But that is different than the one we're talking about. Purchase of various equipment to maintain or upgrade operations of existing traffic signals.
So I can try to answer, and I'm not sure it's correct, but I think it's based on their priority levels of what signals need more attention. But I could be totally wrong on that, but I think that's the case.
And the tier 3 project isn't asking for money in 2025, but it does start in 2026, starting at like 700,000.
That is 750K for 4 years, starting in
So I
26.
think it's prioritizing certain ones.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, and maybe this is a memo thing, but maybe it's just to make sure that in consideration, if we have to start replacing some, end of life type of equipment, starting in 2026 for that price tag, that I'm for funding it if that's ultimately what's needed, but is there I guess just making sure that we couldn't be using some of that money towards ultimately, replacing the larger cost. I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but they need to jive together, I guess.
I'll see it in the spreadsheet.
Which one are you looking for?
Oh, I know why I don't see it, because you're right, that tier 3 one is not starting until 26.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, I definitely see the point of you're gonna need to fix stuff before.
Sure.
Is it 2026?
2026 for the
Oh, yeah,
tier
yeah.
3 side,
Yeah, that's right.
which is traffic signal replacement specifically. So to me, it makes this other one probably seem, well, it certainly is a higher priority.
Yeah.
Just because the pole's 50 years old doesn't mean it has to be replaced.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't remember us talking to them about this one
No.
specifically this year, and I remember it's been on this list for a couple of years.
Yeah. As Tim said, it makes sense. There's some that are higher on our priority list today than, a year from now. So I'm fine with fully funding it. I mean, if we wanted to and come back, I'd be open to
I'm going to highlight this as a potential
something
comeback
that we
too.
could consider otherwise, but
Okay.
I guess that'd be my take. facilities and operations. This is always a weird one for me to prioritize, because it's like I just kind of go with, well, that's what staff's saying, and I don't mean that in a, it's just like I don't know what else to say on that one. I mean, if it's needed to, you know, to me, it's the money that's needed to keep the lights on kind of thing, so.
And we asked for more granularity, didn't we?
I can look. if you want me to.
Okay.
We did, and they sent the information.
We'll look right into that.
And this is one to me, like, I mean, you could argue, you know, you could say that's the top ranking one, not just a 20, you know, but, I mean, not that I want to move it up, but it's just kind of a weird one to prioritize, I feel like.
So general upgrades and replacement for city facilities, including Civic Center, Inglewood Rec Center, Malley Rec Center, golf course maintenance, Pirates Cove, Jefferson Fire Station, and Acoma Fire Station. Examples of projects include roof replacements, HVAC systems, interior, exterior painting, lighting upgrades, energy audit, implementation, and similar remodeling projects.
It's okay if I mention, Chair, I asked our public works director and he said what I said was correct, so.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, that does help. So,
Well, I'm definitely in favor of partially funding this because the last thing you want to mess with is a roof on a building. So,
I agree.
yeah, with the wind and the weather and how it's been, you don't want the fire stations to be dealing with leaks or any of the buildings.
Well,
I
and
don't
we're
want to hear
housing, yeah, and we're housing other people's equipment there,
Right.
which you never know about the liability side of that, but
all right.
maybe that's one we could trim at some point, but, or push to a later year, because they want 2 million this year, and then 800, and then 300, and then 300 over the next 4 years.
Is that indicative of how much needs to be done right away?
Well, yeah, this is the one I don't remember the history of the last couple of years.
I mean, maybe, and not to say that it's not already there, maybe the memo is just like ensuring that council has kind of a line item view into what all that includes. You know, that's our, so that,
I mean, if we can space out those buildings in a way that makes sense too. Because if that 2 million is hitting all those buildings all at once, then maybe we don't need to necessarily do that. And that's out of an abundance of caution.
Agreed. And I'm sure those roofs are a few $100,000 each.
So Tim, does the city have insurance for roof damage?
I believe so,
Yes, hail and wind, typically what damages roofs or trees falling on them, but yeah, we do have coverage
it's resource.
through CERSA, yeah. But pretty high deductible of 150,000, so.
Okay. Did we do the roof on this building recently? Do you remember?
We did, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
Maybe after that really severe rainstorm.
When we had water. running
Right,
through
yeah.
Yep.
It was coming through the windows there too, so.
no.
It's during this meeting.
Yeah.
It was.
We had to
was.
adjourn.
Yeah.
That was before I came. It's all the excitement. So I mean, do we make a comment on that, just to make sure that council's got a good line item view of what that is and what could be, you know, have the opportunity to defer items if it makes sense, or partner with staff on that. The library single exit, I remember this last year, because last year was the feasibility, right?
It's just the feasibility study
But
But
this
it's
is the
just-
construction.
and construction, yeah, so.
Wasn't there feasibility study last year too? Yeah.
Pretty
Or
sure we
Yeah,
did it.
There was.
yeah, because it was like 15,000 or something.
It was.
Something. It wasn't a large amount.
I don't know if this would cover it, but there's some issues with the wiring. So there basically is right now a single entrance to the library on this side of the building. I believe, again, educated guess that this is dealing with the entrance on the other side, which isn't, there's some wiring issues, so it's not fully secured. But,
I think I ultimately ranked this, ultimately ranked this higher than the average. And I went back and forth on it because I know, the library may not always be there, but was given the security concerns and just given what's happened over the last couple of years with, the bathrooms and other security concerns. And, I know the kind of plays into having the code of conduct and all of that, people need to feel safe in our library. And so I think that's where that was ultimately my take on it.
It is a life safety thing,
Yeah.
right? So, but how soon are we making the decision to leave this facility, potentially?
Yeah, I think from the meeting the other week or the month, it was.
leaving this facility yet.
Potentially.
So it's a very long-term, very complicated question.
I knew it was. But
It's really it's a complex real estate situation because of the multiple owners.
But we're no closer than we were
No,
2 months ago.
no.
That was kind of the gist of the meeting.
Well, I don't know. I like this one because of the life safety issues.
Yeah, I feel like.
And also we already spent money to pursue this, so.
The direction we have given our facilities staff on this building though is to prioritize things involving health and well-being.
Yeah.
So, we actually, just today was the first meeting, we have a new committee that's called the Tenant Improvement Process. It's run by our city architect, and basically they evaluate anything from, cubicle walls to new furniture, not paint, actually that's the only one that they don't do. But for this building in particular, they really want to make sure that we're only improving projects that really we have to do, things that are causing, could potentially cause safety issues for users of this building and our staff members. So we're not really trying to do cosmetic things to this building at this point, unless they're part of the safety. Like there was an old linoleum tiles that were ripping up and could potentially be a tripping hazard. So they were replaced by something that looks a lot nicer, but the aesthetic part wasn't the reason why we did it.
Yes, I think this one gets.
Okay, so street lights and furniture replacement. It threw me off at first, and then I read the PDF. Had it hand in hand, because I was like, furniture replacement, how's this go along with street lights? But I get it. I think this one was, I'm pulling it back up the thing, but I think it was on Broadway was the focus of this one.
Yes.
And that furniture is the kind of furniture that
Yeah,
accommodates people who want to sit for a moment, but not people who want to sit or sleep for hours, correct?
There is a term for that type
Yes.
of design.
Yes, there is.
And is this in the area where the DDA is working with us also?
Sorry.
The streetlights and furniture replacement
We don't
or
know about
repair?
furniture, furnishings. Yeah, the streetlights, so it depends on how you define working together. They have reached out to us and have asked our plans on some of the streetlights that are in that area, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, I don't believe that they have put any financing into that. But they have pointed out some to us that have caused some concerns that our staff has assessed.
But doesn't the DDA have some responsibility too for some things in that area?
It
does say regular maintenance is needed to maintain improved condition of city infrastructure, no civic center, and possible DDA on the PDF.
And I don't think they're locked into anything specific as far as that goes. Specific items that they can do, but not areas necessarily. Also, it's within their boundaries.
I'm inclined to punt this one potentially for a year. It's a small number, but
Yeah.
it's still,
Well,
and are we looking at, I mean, DDA is making some improvements, and so I feel like this is one that maybe has some overlap at some point, I don't know.
Well, maybe another year will help us kind of flesh out that relationship.
Agreed.
So now we're reaching that sweet spot where we're gonna reach that, because the next line item is $3.8 million. So I would like to take emerald ash borer mitigation and put it next in priority
I
above the 38.5.
I agree with you 100%. We really need to make that a priority.
I called it rank 22A,
Yeah.
but just.
It's very
it's in
important.
order for me.
Why do we think the ranking was low in the first place?
I was
This is
all
the-
over this one.
I think for me, it was the language and the scoring tool. Like, it's not something that's fixed that needs to be broken.
Right.
So I couldn't actually give it a 3 in whatever category that was.
Yeah.
I think it's just an outlier in the nature of the request and the way that the scoring tool is designed. And that's not implying that the tool needs to change, it's just, it's mitigation, it's not repair.
Right.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really a category for mitigation to score something high.
Yeah, I would agree with that, 'cause I think it was like a 1.20. And I also felt that the PC replacement to me
Oh, yeah.
is a higher priority, because I mean, that's just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I agree.
one, it's just standard to kind of, yeah, to me, that's probably, I mean, I would certainly take money away from the energy efficient projects. For that.
I would too, actually, at this juncture. And I think technology is still moving pretty quickly on that front. I'm not an expert. I know we have experts in this city, but from a funding standpoint, I agree with you on both cases.
Yeah, and that, to me, that comes down to another morale thing too, aside from just needing, functional equipment. But
Yeah.
I know how frustrated I get at work with I can't get a replacement for my PCs. That wouldn't change here. So I'm always like, just do it, it's just replace them, that's the thing.
Well, and, right. Well, remember too, we're missing a couple scores still, so it could be that these would move up there.
So did we completely punt library, single exit feasibility and study construction? Did we decide to not do that one?
No, I think we just,
We're gonna circle
I was
back.
for it,
Yeah, I think we're
100%.
gonna keep that one.
Okay.
Did you have other,
No, I'm
Okay.
just trying to keep track for discussion purposes. The streetlights and furniture repair though.
That was,
I think that was,
yeah.
I think if we decide to punt that, maybe then, because I certainly understand the importance of that, especially on Broadway. Maybe that's something in our memo that we say that should be further discussed with DDA, even though that may not be an option, it's already been done, but,
Yeah, so I'm looking at PIF 16 was 500 grand in year one. That was the partial fund, maybe. Signal equipment upgrade replacement was 300. That's a partial fund, maybe. Facilities and operations, 2,000,001, a partial fund, maybe. Streetlights and furniture repair replacement at 50K was a probable punt, but partial. And then citywide facilities, energy efficient projects was a partial.
Yeah, this would be a partial too.
To be decided. So I guess library furniture was the next one, technically, outside PC
I don't know.
replacement and ash borer project.
I think library furniture is one where I have to go down there and actually look at it, right? Like,
yeah.
I agree, but I mean, yeah, and it kind of fits with some of the other things,
mhm.
right?
Oh, some of these smaller ones though, like the art in public places, the 1% recreation. I can look it up, but Jenny, you can explain it better.
Well, I remember 2 years ago, I was one of the only people who gave any budget to the art in public places.
Yeah.
It's 50 grand a requirement. I think I offered 12,
And basically-
15, and we came out with 7,500 or something, which,
And depending on how many CPF projects are funded, that 1% is just on the CPF.
The CPF.
Last year was what, like 46,000?
Something, or 30, some odd thousand, something around there.
Because like some of these smaller
So
priced
that number
items,
will
like I don't feel
fluctuate
strongly
depending-
about them, but the budget will
Yeah,
accommodate
yeah.
it. It's
Well,
1,000. Yeah, I was
I
just
mean,
trying
a
to
little
remember if
art
that was
goes a
match.
long ways.
Yeah.
I mean, but I also, I think it's good to encourage artists. I think it adds some nice flavor. I love it when I come down Broadway and I see those metal grass sculptures sticking out just south of Yale. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm going all over the place, but the neighborhood signs, like we have some in place, but not others. And I just don't want that to be the status quo for the next 5 or 10 years, because that's a really easy thing to punt. And then
Agreed.
I would be a little sad if my neighborhood never got a sign,
Well,
You don't have one yet?
but not in my particular neighborhood. Not, I don't know, but I'm Rotolo Park.
Well,
Park sign.
I hate to bring this up, but we should be perhaps cognizant that communications at the moment, wayfinding, placemaking, public art, wraps and crosswalks,
Mhm.
and also the art, that's Parks and Rec, and also the neighborhood signs. I mean, they're looking for 230K if you put all of those together. Maybe we can find a go-between there, but I feel like it'd be nice to sponsor something in the budget for communications. Yeah. Maybe it's not important, I don't know, but I feel like it's good that we recognize something perhaps.
So do we, because you said neighborhood signs.
Neighborhood signs, CPF1, we have public art, wraps and crosswalks, PIF1, and then PIF2, wayfinding and placemaking. Those were their only 3
Combined.
projects. Combined was 230K in year 1.
So maybe room for a compromise negotiation process.
Yeah, I
Is that
think we
something
should
that-
try to fund one of their projects, at least part way.
Yeah, I mean, I think art that is accessible makes you want to live in the city, not just own a home here.
Yeah.
It makes people want to visit the city and spend their money here.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we want to bump one of those up then? Or do we want to or do we want to put in the memo that we feel between those 3 that they're, and the art and public places, I mean, we can say,
What if we fully fund the neighborhood signs at 30,000 and reduce wayfinding and placemaking?
by that 30,000,
Oh, sure.
Good deal.
just
Say
stop
that
it.
again, by how much?
We'll give by 30,000, reduce it by 30. So they get 100,000 total to spend across HIF2 and CPF1.
Can I ask another question? So public art, wraps and crosswalks, could that include the 1%? Public art in place, so then you could put that 1% towards that.
You're thinking outside the box.
It's not allowed, not at a budget
Yeah,
meeting.
no, that's a good.
Just a suggestion, I'm not
Yeah.
part of it.
Sounds like it would fit.
No,
I like that.
So the recommendation would just be that it would fund it partially with that 1%.
Those are different departments.
Are they?
They are Parks and Rec for the art and public place and the community communications.
So I have to say, all of these public art projects are multidisciplinary. So they involve public works, parks, our office, communications. So when we were doing this, it was just like a hand up, like sure, I'll be willing to write the description for it. But really, it's not really siloed. I think they're great examples of multiple departments working together.
It's great. So do that's
Yeah, that is.
noted.
So I have this at 8.78 million, and that is before we dive into energy efficient projects.
Okay, now I'm still confused on the wayfinding, placemaking, and public art. PIF 1 and PIF 2.
Neighborhood signs is 30,000, wayfinding and placemaking will be 70,000.
Oh, a total of 70,000. Yes. Okay, so 35 each.
Fund the neighborhood signs totally. So are we gonna agree that alley paving and public art acquisitions are going to be not funded?
Sorry, one more time.
The bottom two were alley paving, which I'm not for at all. I know there are a couple alleys that they may wanna do still, so maybe we should think about what those ones are. But just high traffic, semi-commercial residential areas.
Yeah, I get that.
Jenny, I think on that, we were saying that, agreed with Member Russell's idea that the public art and RAPS crosswalks could be funded, and it would be partially funded, but it would be funded by the 1%, right?
So row 36 is $70,000.
Yeah, and then we'll take that and put it down.
This should be 70,000.
Yeah, and we used another 30 for the neighborhood signs out of that.
Got it. And then this one is fully funded.
And then
We're thinking, it's like
well,
combining two line items.
yeah, that may be hard to say here. Maybe I need to put that in the memo.
So a total of 100, well, we'll see what the total is for the public art,
Yeah.
the 1%.
Yeah.
So that minus the 100,000 will give us.
I think that was separate. I think we switched gears. So PIF 2 and CPF 1 look good. PIF 1, we're wondering if PIF 1 can actually be funded by CPF 8, that 1%.
Got it. Okay, so we don't fully fund this.
And I'll try to word that in the memo too, Jenny.
Okay. And I'll have total numbers once we're finished with our partial funding and our funding, and that's where we are.
And I know we're 12 minutes, so I'm trying to be conscious of time, but because I know we need to get to the energy piece. I thought the audio visual upgrades, I mean, I don't think it has to be done this year, but you know, it definitely seemed like something that was needed, was my takeaway from that. Given that there's, I mean, you know, all of our meetings are online, and obviously, especially the council meetings needing that. And I know there were concerns earlier in the year, and I can't remember all the reasons why, but there was audio video concerns earlier in the year with council, and that certainly caused a lot of kerfuffle from the public.
Well, I thought we had
it was,
some new
you know,
upgrades in place there.
Was it process or?
I thought it was equipment related, that there was something wrong at that moment.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things at play. We actually bought very, I guess I'd say high-end audiovisual equipment, but did not have, and there were some training issues, and then there was also, you know, AV is its own area of focus, which is, you know, separate and unique from, potentially tangentially related to IT, but it's its own area. And so I think we kind of learned that over the last 2 years. And so we have developed some pretty strong SOPs and checklists for processes that were not in place a year and a half ago that are in place now. So I think that's mitigated some of the challenges. But we now know this is here to stay, and it's something that can be used for all kinds of meetings. And so we want to embrace it, and we also want to be able to do more with it at some of our other facilities and some of our other meeting rooms as well,
Yeah.
eventually.
So does that also include rooms like this room?
Yes. So, so obviously this being one example, this room is really the one that, other than council chambers and the community room, this is really the only meeting room we have that's fully capable of doing meetings like this that are hybrid. There's 2 other smaller meeting rooms on this floor that can do it to an extent, but it's a little bit more limited. So.
Yeah.
And we also, I don't know all the details, but I know Mark, the AV technician, has been working with the Maui Center on upgrades to some of their equipment to allow for virtual classes and things like that, but I don't know the details of that scope, so.
So is most of this because of the hybrid meetings still?
Yes.
So if the hybrid meetings went away, then would there not be a need for that line item
Yes, I mean, if meetings went back to only
in person?
yeah, I mean, there would still be somewhat of a need because they would still be broadcast. But yeah, the two, speaking on a term, so I'm definitely not an expert, but yes, the two-way communication aspect is different from just being able to broadcast something live. But there would still need to be upgrades to do that, to do the one directional broadcasting.
And I think as much as I love in-person attendance, I think with respect to the public, that's an argument in favor of accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree,
where they are.
and it's a relatively small spend.
Yeah. I mean, it's multi-year, if I remember,
comparatively.
but
It is multi-year.
I do feel it is important. And this could be a more dramatic way of looking at it, but if there was an emergency or some type of situation where, you needed to be set up here from a city perspective, or any of the rooms and to conference and stuff like that, like we'd want to make sure, just to me, as a network, it's like, gotta make sure it's up and running so y'all can do what you need to do.
As an example of that, like the county, I think last year they had 20-some emergency operations. Most of them were snow related, and most of them they did virtually. So that is something that would allow us to do that.
Yeah, I think there's another compatibility and functionality for future projects, asterisk though. In terms of overlapping.
So we'll fully
Technical
fund
needs.
AV upgrades. We're in agreement there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can add that in there to the other comment that you made.
I've been noting it, so.
So that leaves us with, unless there's other line items we want to move up, that leaves us with 186,000 before we move into energy efficient projects.
Okay.
So I think, are there other lower priority items lower ranked items that we want to bump up? And do we want to make adjustments in some of the higher ranked items that we've already reviewed in order to accommodate more funding for energy efficient projects?
I'd like to vote for scratching some completely,
Okay,
or mostly.
we scrapped streetlights and we scrapped wayfinding in place, or reduced wayfinding and placemaking, right? What about,
Okay.
I don't know how we get to 3.8 million, but.
I would vote for, there's a lot of traffic calming and traffic discussions. I don't know what's all included in this transportation plan. I'll pull it up. But I'm generally against the traffic calming program in and of itself, given what else is going on.
okay,
I don't know why we would try to do that now. I'm sure somebody has a good reason, but we have a citywide transportation plan outstanding, because to me, that's sort of the core of the next steps. I think what that means.
So your point being, why would the city transportation plan not include the call?
Yes, right. And I'm still a little ambiguous on the calming. I know that's going to be a big issue. So the transportation master plan, as part of the comprehensive master plan of all streets and intersections of the city to better anticipate future traffic needs due to anticipated growth and traffic generated from private development. The plan would allow the city to require developers to install roadway improvements as needed due to the traffic impact of their development. Okay. No transportation plan has been completed for the city that can be used for this purpose. might vote to punt that, but given the other budgetary priorities.
So punted on my spreadsheet, at least.
I have no concerns.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we've got 436 before we enter into energy efficiency projects.
Oh, and the alley paving, I don't know if we,
Alley maintenance or alley paving?
alley paving.
Well, that's
It
at
was
the
the
bottom,
lowest
that's
ranked.
even,
Yeah, I'm not for that.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I just want that to go to the voters. I think you're right, like if it were the 3,400 block of Acoma Broadway
Yeah,
or something,
50 or
then,
60 grand to improve some of those commercial residential uses.
yeah.
But some of the neighbors may not like that either.
It's a hot button.
I just don't know how much concrete we can put in one city. Okay, so that frees up a little bit.
And I know we're getting close to time where I'm out of time here. We're not too far over.
I mean, I love the fiber network. It's just big dollars.
That comes up every year too.
I know.
And every year I say, I don't know what that is, and I don't see it, so it just doesn't stick with me.
Well-
So I always punt that conversation.
I worked for a few fiber companies for a few years, and I just still am curious like how this could be done with some integration from, call it, well, a public utility.
Yeah.
As well.
So reduce it or?
Yeah,
Oh, that was a lower ranked one too. Are you suggesting moving it up?
No, I was suggesting, I don't know that it can be reduced per se, just given the total
So we're saying
budget consideration to do this project. I just think it's just gonna keep getting delayed until we can find a better way to do it or make it a one-time expenditure.
If it's $5 million now or 5 years, that one-time expenditure is only gonna go up.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So the five,
But does 1 million get us the completion? Clearly not even close.
no, I think that's the challenge with it.
Agreed.
We're at 5.4 million, right?
So I
What we funded.
have a different value.
If we added in the 3.8, does not take us to, just using that as an example, that would take us to just what, 9.2, which is right at that 9 million mark.
So I have 8.5.
We're over.
Maybe it's the arterial and collector street pavement maintenance of 500K that,
Did we,
I
no,
did
street
not-
reconstruction maybe? Because we were gonna, maybe.
What about street construction?
Yeah, we're
Is
gonna
that
fund
fully
that.
funded or not?
I have it fully funded on mine.
Yeah. So maybe we're just, we're going through.
Arterial and collector.
I have it fully funded on mine.
Yeah, I think both of those we're okay with.
Okay.
Sidewalk gap construction.
I have it fully funded
Yeah.
on mine. That's not to say that mine
No,
is
I-
correct. I just want to
yeah.
get a number that matches what Jenny has on the screen.
6.7.
Or I want to match yours either
Yeah,
way.
yeah, just as long as we're in
Oh,
agreement.
facilities and operations, that's the
Oh, yeah.
difference, yeah.
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
we agreed that that could be a partial line item by replacements here would be helpful in understanding what we can reduce the budget by.
Yeah.
But,
So
If-
this is
If we can.
my running total here.
so
Like, and then-
does that include the facilities and operations?
Yeah, and then if anything that we've reduced, I'm putting in this column E. So right now, facilities and operations on my spreadsheet is still the 2 million.
Yeah,
So do we want to give them, I'm just making this up, like an even 2 million instead of 2,058,500 or?
yeah, I feel like we're just nickel and diming if
Right.
we're down at 58.
I think we need to really see the line items on that one.
I don't know if we're good, I mean, I don't think we'll see that by the time we need to have
You
it
don't?
all in. My thought was I guess my
Just say
personal
you're
thought
getting
was,
80% of the budget or whatever.
or we give it and make sure that council's got a good view, which I.
Public Works did send us a spreadsheet that I forwarded on to you.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh,
That had it
Wow.
like,
it tells you by facility.
What, can you tell me,
maybe
the-
I'm.
do you have that email in front of you, or just the subject line? Just trying to find it.
It's gonna be the same subject line, unfortunately.
The SIP prioritization tool materials one?
Yeah.
April 26th.
I must have missed it.
I see it, I found it. It's May 1.
May 1, there it is. Okay, I started that one, of course. There was an attachment.
Okay, yeah, I know you had your, are there any other last, like, 'cause I don't want to keep us too much longer, any last things out the door you want to?
I mean, I made notes on all of these and I'll share those with you.
And I think I'll put together my memo notes,
Okay,
and send them out to Jenny to distribute just for a quick review from everybody, and then they can facilitate back so I can get something out to folks.
I mean, our next step is specifically what?
Is,
To
well, I think,
taper this down to meet the budget constraint, right?
well, I think we're
Pretty dang close.
yeah, I think we're right about there. Once we added the 2.8, I think we're right about there. So we have like $1 million, what, was it 9 million? So we have like 200,000 left, so.
That's
We're
if
about
we
there.
fully fund facilities and operations,
Yeah.
but we haven't touched the energy efficient projects, which maybe we just punt it for a year.
Yeah, maybe we just, I mean, to me, I love it, and there's some grand piece there, but, I mean, I'd be open to it if we suddenly get that additional funding. You know, I think that would be a good conversation, but personally, there's nothing in here that I would take back that would accommodate for that, because I don't know if like 50,000 or 100,000 is really, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be enough, you know?
Yeah.
And then, and I know you're walking out the door, the next steps would be, I think, because we're pretty close to wrapping this up, is everybody else get their scores in, just so there's a complete view. And then I need to draft up a memo with some of the notes I took, so any notes you got,
I'll share those with you.
and then like I said, I'll try to get them out to Jenny by tomorrow night, and then share it on Thursday, and then any feedback. Would Monday be okay, or should I shoot for Friday?
Monday's fine.
Okay.
We have
And then it would give you guys a couple days to look at it, just to see if my memo makes sense, any other additional kind of contextual notes we want to send.
I'm happy to help you write the memo
Thanks.
tomorrow.
And then, I think that'll be good. But I don't know if there's, with that other 200, is there anything we're missing that we should fund?
Did we say, what did we say about the citywide transportation?
I think we wanted to punt that one
Okay.
because I think we had, I think there's a lot riding on that. And I think it's a big number at $250,000 when we have all these outstanding traffic calming and some other things that, and I already see a lot of changes going on. I feel like this is something where we need to do it right once and not double spend money. Not to mention, I know there's some discourse over the quote unquote roundabouts and some other things that we've been entertaining the idea of.
So maybe we just end it kind of pretty close there.
Not to mention, I mean, this whole 285 project, which I don't know where that is with the state, so.
Well, for my ignorance, we have that 200 some. Where's it go when we make a decision and somebody decides, okay, well, that 200 doesn't need to be spent? Well, where's it end up going?
What was the last part, sorry?
Where does it end up, and decisions making with that later, or is it go into something that we can use next year?
That's the decision the council makes.
And if it doesn't get spent, it goes back into the budget, is that correct, Kevin?
Well, if it ends up being part of the 5 million that we transfer from the general fund, then it would stay in, well, unless council reversed their decision, but it would stay in the capital projects fund that we use for next year.
For the following year, because they would still move that forward and do it.
Yes.
I mean, if there's something else here that we want to do to make up for that, that's, that gap. I mean, we don't need to be leaving money on the table per se, but so, I mean, at that point, you could maybe fully fund like waymaking and stuff like that, or wayfinding. Is there anything else we want to fund in here that we've missed? Oh, no, there's the Emerald, oh no, we have that. Those streetlights, right, I was looking at the wrong row, my bad. That's what we included.
I think anything and Jenny, I'll have to reconcile with yours, I'm still off by a couple $100,000, but I think anything we haven't talked about is just 6 of one, half dozen of another. Just,
Yeah, we didn't get to the civic center carpeting and the common area furniture replacement.
yeah, I mean, is it gonna be, and what I mean is like, we can advocate for library furniture, or we can advocate for common area furniture, or we can, you know, so I think it's just trying to pump whatever
Yeah.
we can into the remaining balance.
Yeah, and to me, I feel kind of the same way in the carpet, like, we're gonna be here a while, so we probably should replace pieces that aren't, but is it a top priority? No, but, I mean, you know, certainly.
Yeah, and I'm happy to play.
Well,
Yeah.
But I don't know,
and
there's a
maybe
happy
it's just the
medium there
most
somewhere.
intensely used or damaged areas first, and we just have to trim it down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think our job is to be budget conscious and make good decisions based on the limited resources that we have.
Mhm. So for our group, is there anything that is there anything that we haven't talked about in the lower rankings that still remain that anyone feels strongly about? Like fiber network or common area furniture replacement, any of these? Because I was gonna say, not that I wanted budget the remaining on behalf of the group, but I'm happy to simply sit down and plug the numbers in and complete the math.
And probably, it's when it's like, it gets weird with calming stuff, because it's like, well, I probably should prioritize that over carpet, but I don't know. I do like your
Well,
thought of like the master plan should include that.
I think those
And I may
things,
be ignorant too, but, you know, I think that is a good suggestion. You know, like if we had a couple $100,000 left over, I'd be fine with fully funding the carpet.
I'm not against the carpet per se.
Is the 200,000 left over still under the assumption that we're not fully funding or haven't decided on funding the facilities side?
Oh, the assumption is that we're funding for all facilities.
Okay.
What about the arterial and collector street pavement maintenance?
I think we funded that.
Well, that was one that I noted as being a partial potential.
The ones that I reduced or completely removed on my side were implementation of neighborhood traffic calming, which is
Okay,
PIP
so
14.
there's the difference.
Okay. And then the streetlights and furniture repair / replacement, PIF 20, I have that fully cut. I have PIF 2, wayfinding and placemaking, reducing that to $70,000.
Yes.
And then, okay, ooh, we're closer. I have 8.6. I have 8.611. Jenny has 8.607. So I think it's enough for us to work with.
Maybe we fully fund wayfinding and give back that 30,000 or whatever.
Or do we partially fund
That and
common area
carpet.
furniture replacement for $15,000?
I'm not against the carpet. I mean, new carpet,
Yeah.
or
I'm
partially
not
new
either.
carpet and putting it in where we really need it.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
think
that's-
from a carpeting standpoint, just to think about it, like the way I would think about it from a house is if I'm doing it piecemeal, it's gonna cost me much more.
Well,
Yeah.
it will, so how bad's the carpet? How bad's the furniture?
Because when I was in that meeting, I was like, really, carpet? It didn't give me the warm and fuzzies the way that these other budget items do, and
It
I
doesn't,
still.
but I get it. I get it. I just replaced carpet in the house. God, it's expensive.
And I'm in the
Sorry,
process
I
of pulling up carpet, so.
So, you know, I mean, I'd be fine with that, the library furniture. I mean, I did get the point on the library furniture as well.
Okay, I'm gonna move that one
Thanks.
up.
We're funding library.
Be available tomorrow as you need me.
Okay, thanks,
I'll
Peter.
Put the memo together. You'll have a good evening. Good to see you.
I can put the carpet in, who would put the carpet in? They get their carpet.
I do think it's something you take for granted. I mean, you're just walking around on
It
it.
is, but I mean, you know,
And visitors go to the second floor and now that the museum's opening, we're gonna have more visitors on the second floor, which is important.
it's true though. somebody would be going to council and being like, why can't you replace the carpet in here and all the things? And they'll be taking up public comment time.
I wished.
You're like, that'd be an easy one.
Yeah.
But yeah, right, there's, so, okay. Anything else? So that takes us to 8 points.
Can I put common area furniture replacement in there too? Because that's only 15.
I think that we deferred that the last couple of years. And honestly, I mean, to the point that, you know, from the presentation the other day and what Tim kind of re-echoed, you know, it's not anytime soon that we're moving away or anything's changing with the building situation. So,
Right.
you know, it is a public building that needs to represent the city.
So we both have like 200,000 to 400,000 remaining. Do we want to do, sorry, and I'm not trying to hold this over either. I just don't know if we want to do this as a group or if we want to. So public art acquisition, the wraps and crosswalks, which we nixed.
Yeah, well, we were using the 1%.
Right.
And that number's changing for us. So right now we're at 44,000.
44,000.
335. But if we
That's
select any
why.
more PIF or CPF projects, that will change.
Oh, this is good.
It's like
We're
that
exactly
1%.
off by $100,000. And I wonder if it's the carpet.
The carpet I haven't put in.
Figure it out.
I mean, I'd be fine with bumping back into the wayfinding and the art pieces.
Yeah,
I mean, I think we all kind of feel the same, like, we all like it, you know?
yeah. Well, okay.
So do we go away with, do we just fully fund do we still keep that art of public spaces to fund the public art wraps and crosswalks? I do like that idea. Because it is a good kind of negotiation.
Sorry, say that.
Everything left is a big ticket item.
So what we had done was we had said the art in public places would fund partially the public art wraps and crosswalks. I
Okay.
still do like that idea because I feel like it saves a little bit of money for something else. Maybe we partially fund the public art acquisition.
Yeah, just put the remaining balance in there.
What were we down to? Because I think there was a line item, for what, I can't remember what that was.
So that says art in public places, 1% recreation. Does it have to be towards the recreation department?
It's public art.
It's public.
So she would-
Parks and Rec
we
just
were on
oversees
500,000.
spending.
Oh, okay.
This is what I'm showing remaining. That's what we have left. So my thought is,
Oh, because that's 250, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
fine with that. I don't know, Jay, your thoughts?
What now?
Partially fund the public, so Suzanne's got like 127,000 left on hers,
And we can reconcile.
but just put that towards public arts,
The public art acquisition?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
it
is
could be,
roughly half.
yeah.
So then the wraps and crosswalks, what are we doing with that? Because I thought we were funding.
I now have that.
No, I think we leave that as you have it. I think you're good.
Sorry, so we're not funding it?
Or did you have us fully funding it?
Well, just in the last few minutes, we went back and forth a little bit.
I guess we did, yeah.
So
So,
we fully fund.
so
I mean, we can still do both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, are we fully funding it or no? Are we scrapping it? The wraps and crosswalks?
Legally, can we pay for part of it out of the budget if we put the 1%? To pay for it also?
Say that again.
So we're looking at $100,000 for art. the public art, 44,335, and then just fully funding it. Some of it is coming from the budget itself, and some of it is coming from the 1%. Can we do that?
Yeah, I'd say roll that, as long as it qualifies as what that 1% can be spent on.
Yeah, for the public art.
Okay.
All right. I have a balanced budget, or I have exactly $9 million.
We'll have to.
I mean, if 9 million and it's not
I'm not there.
1.9426, whatever.
Don't we get started as a competition?
All right, does that sum us up then? All right, okay, so I'll work on drafting up a memo and get that over to Jenny so she can send out and see if I'm missing anything. Peter's got some notes too, and then you can align that, make sure we're jiving with Jenny have there. Members' choice, it's just the three of us, I think, and you're leaving, you're leaving us, but we will have the, so if you're the chair and vice chair coming up and, I'm sorry, I know you just answered in June or we vote in July, right? I know I asked you that in email for the.
Yeah, July, we'll vote for the chair and vice chair.
Yeah.
I'd hoped to have moved Nevin
Yeah.
to alternate to regular today, but we can do that next month as well.
And then the only other thing, and again, it may be even as you, because I know you'll be leaving as far as we're working on the final report, but even if you have topics or thoughts that even, I'm not saying to do the report, but like if you're like, hey, this would be a good thing, because we need to compile our report. So we need to start thinking, maybe I'll to Jenny, I'll ask folks to start thinking of that since they're not all here. But we need to start figuring out what our topics will be for the annual report. I need to go through all my notes too, but that's coming up pretty quick, so we'll have to be working on that here. So it's good to start thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can leave you a summary of my parting words, my 2 cents, and you can do what you like with it.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Anything from members' choice?
Well, in that spirit, I heard the citizens who presented to council, I guess last Monday, and advocated for a sidewalk or a stoplight or what have you at Fox and Oxford. I'm just going to take this opportunity that I'm very much in favor of that. Ideally, a crosswalk with a light, just like we have on the 3400 block of Broadway. So.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the meeting, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm on Fox and I always cross with Oxford. It's terrible.
There are several families who live north of Oxford who either walk or ride bikes with their families to get their kids to school at Clayton. And they collectively asked council to consider a crosswalk at Oxford and Fox.
I think probably a traffic light is better than what's on Broadway, especially when children are involved, and Oxford is bad.
Yeah, it is bad. I know with having 2 lights there close to Broadway, it'll get crazy too, but, you know, and then down to Windermere, but man, yeah, it does. I never thought about the people walking over from.
Yeah.
That is scary, yeah.
Well, until I forget who it was that came to talk, I don't know if it was last meeting or the meeting before, that schools, you know, when Maddox used to be in that district, so no student had to cross a major street.
That's true.
And when we got rid of Maddox and made it an early childcare center, it created that problem, and nobody really realized it, I don't think.
Yeah, and it never even occurred to me that our school districts, so to speak, our school neighborhoods were aligned that way. It never even occurred to me that folks would have to cross Oxford to get to Clayton.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. And I agree, I think it's like traffic light and the crosswalk, because I see how people are on Broadway, but to your point.
I think council will be for that.
Good.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you everyone for being patient with us as we work through it today.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jenny, I know how hard you worked on that spreadsheet. It was, I thank you.
No, I did it late Friday, as you know. but the way it was designed actually helped me do it financially. So, yeah, I loved it.